guys, this is Akumu Matata with LV1 Gaming. I'm here with Brian, the creator of the Mortuary Assistant, a game that I had so much fun playing and got absolutely terrified when playing it because, yeah, it's that good and unsettling. So I'm super excited and like really gushy right now because I'm getting to talk with him. So yeah, I'm super excited. I know I already kind of introduced you, but if you want to go ahead and reintroduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Brian Clark. I'm the developer of the Mortuary Assistant. I'm a solo developer, so everything you see I've done myself. It took me about 2 years to do, and I've been really fortunate with people like yourself playing it and really enjoying it, and it's been a blast to see everybody enjoying it and seeing the reception it's gotten.
For those who don't know, and who might have also played one of the DreadXP collections, he's also the creator of the Book of Blood.
That's correct. I did do the Book of Blood, yes.
Yes. So that is probably where some of y'all might have heard his name first before the Mortuary Assistant came out. Obviously, though, there was a couple of demos that came out before the full release of the game.
Yeah, the prototype and then the demo for the full game earlier last year, or later last year.
Okay, so I have to ask one of the questions on my mind. What made you come up with this? Why a mortuary? Because, usually you kind of, I know it could be outplayed, but, it's like, oh, the graveyard or those old haunted houses and mansions. And so what made you go mortuary?
Well, to start everything out, we were mentioning the prototype and the demo and everything that came out. The original prototype was the result of a week-long game jam that I forced myself to do. It wasn't for any official anything. I just wanted to give myself a week to make something small. And so I knew I would need to do a small environment, and I needed to do something that was a really tight gameplay loop, and I knew I wanted to do creepy things. So I was like, well, what's creepy? Dead bodies are creepy. So how do I get a player alone in a room with a dead body? And it made sense to do embalming for me because autopsy was another option, but I felt autopsies are a little too technical and like clean, sterile, and they can be creepy too. But embalming, I feel, is a lot more intimate with the body because it's more like an art form. You're doing things to try and make a body look alive again. I think it's way creepier potentially. So that's how I got the ideas for that, and from there I just fleshed out a small embalming room after looking at a lot of different videos and just trying to find all the examples I could of various environments. And the prototype itself was just simply collecting items until a spooky thing happened, but that caught some traction, and that really inspired doing the rest of the game. I knew it was the next project I wanted to do. Okay,
awesome. So obviously we know that many different events can go on.
Yes.
Right. You have the woman in white, the mimic, was it Shadow or the Shadow Man?
Yeah, the Shadow Man.
Yeah. So what was the kind of inspiration? Where did you do like research on like, for lack of a better phrase, right, demons? And you're just like, oh, what would really get us? Or like, did you get inspiration from like legends itself? And
yeah. So one of the things I really wanted with Mortuary Assistant in all of its aspects was some level of familiarity. And so instead of going over the top, making these like out there monster designs and trying to make them look super creepy, and just I feel like you can end up getting too involved in the overall like design of something when I wanted something that sort of resonated with people with things that they've seen on like closed circuit television, like clips on like YouTube and stuff like that. Everybody's read things about the woman in white or the Shadow Man in the hat, and the mimic is sort of inspired by this concept of the pale entity with sunken eyes always out of focus in the background in these videos. And so these are things that I sort of based these spirits off of, and then I created lore of their own that meshed in with mine for the greater demonology of Mortuary Assistant.
And I think it worked really well because it could be really unsettling because, like you said, it's things that people are familiar with. They have that like you said, oh, I'm a fan of like horror everything, YouTube videos, movies. So sometimes it could be really, when it's done well, it could be unsettling. So yeah, I could definitely see that because I still remember a part of the game where it's just literally, I think I was walking and then I was like, I saw something out of like kind of like the corner. Yeah. So I have my character look up and like the mimic's literally on the ceiling, and I'm just like, oh my god. So very well done. Like,
thank you.
Very well done. And as far as like the scenarios that happen, the different events.
Sure. So a lot of people think it's just random events getting pulled. The only randomness to it, there are random factors, but a lot of it is just a event is chosen at random based on where the player is in the game. But then there's an entire system that I call the haunt system that takes that and looks at the criteria that it has to see if the player meets it. So like where they are, what level of possession they have, where they are in the mortuary. There's a number of different factors. And if you meet that criteria, then it'll fire that event. And then only if you notice that event does the event happen. If you don't notice it, it goes back into circulation to be thrown into the mix again. But once it's fired, there's another set of like subscripts that run that then look at what direction the player's facing, lights on or off, what room are they in on like a more granular level. And so there will be things that are like events that I've made, but they'll take place in maybe 5 different places. Like they could happen depending upon where you are. They could be in the bathroom or the front entry like office or the embalming room itself or in cold storage, all based on where the player's at.
Okay, wow, okay, that's a lot more in depth than I was. No, that's amazing, that's amazing. So is that kind of why I guess it could disappear? Because again, like an example playing, I was at the computer, you know, kind of rereading all the information, like, okay, what am I missing here? I want to choose the right body.
Yeah.
And like I told you, that mimic kind of crawled up from the computer screen.
Yeah, so that's the haunt system looking at what you're doing, and since you're at the computer, you met the computer criteria, and so it pulled an event that matched that, and that's how those experiences are had. It's also, the computer ones are also really rare because people will go on there to document the things that they found, and then they print the paper and they're right back off. So it's really cool that there are events that I think are much more unlikely for people to get. I think it gives a lot of value to them once they're seen.
Right, especially because, you know, things might already be happening that are creepy or unsettled, and they're just like, okay, I just want to put this thing together, and let me just get this through this night, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, because that really caught me off guard, because that was like the first time, and all of a sudden I see it, and I just kind of look, and I'm just like, nope. And I was like, I'm not leaving this computer screen, because he might jump out at me or something. You know, and it's like a chance, because obviously your possession level's going up the longer you're waiting. Yeah. So at that time, it's like, well, do I take the chance and hope he goes away? Or well, so I like that.
Yeah, a lot of those events, I tend to kind of pull back a little bit where it's things like that where people are expecting something to happen. Right. I tend to not do it then because I really want to keep that tension that's been built by it so that they feel more uneasy for longer. And then other events will happen that sort of punctuate it. Sometimes I will just be, all right, okay, they expect this, I'm going to give that to them because I also want that, like, that's an enjoyable thing too. So I want to try to give a mix of that. But yeah, the reactionary aspect of all the systems, I think, is what makes it really fun for me to watch people play. The fact that most of these things don't react until you've actually discovered them yourself. Right, no, and I think that's clever. Something I know I missed, but I was watching in someone else's playthrough, was actually your first official shift, right? Yeah, you go to the tutorial and you go to the restroom, and there's actually, if you look in the mirror. Yeah. And I actually missed that the first time. Like I said, I was watching someone else play. Yeah. And they were going, they're like, wait a minute, they go back to the mirror, and like you see. The woman in white's reflection in the shadow. And even, I'm not even playing, and even I was like, what the? That's funny you mentioned that. We were talking about that this morning as we were setting up. I said I haven't seen anybody notice that here so far, because there's actually a number of like really like subtle ones in the tutorial, just because it's supposed to be the beginning of her possession, and so I didn't want to do anything too crazy except for the end point of the tutorial where you're sent home. So there's a number of things that just like they'll disappear and there's no sound associated with it or anything. Like I just want people to maybe think they saw something, maybe think they didn't, because I wanted to try to really go with the concept, lore-wise, of the possession is beginning for her. And so it kind of helps tie into the next half of things after the tutorial where Raymond starts describing what's going on. Right. And that's what I said. I thought that was really clever, really well done, because it does tie in, because obviously at this point, you're like, oh, something's going on with her. Yeah. Right? So I think that was like a really subtle, like she's getting possessed, like, you know, because, yeah, you know, obviously, like you said, at the end where it's really like, boom, here it is. Yeah. And you're just like, oh, now the game's beginning, but it's like, in reality, no, the game's already begun. So I thought that was really well done, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I missed that, like.
so I'm really glad that the person I saw playing it, saw that. So it was really nice.
Well, I think that's one of the fun things about watching other people play.
Yeah.
Again, because of how the system runs everything, I have no idea when things are going to happen and what's going to happen. I have a general rough understanding of, like, I know where the triggers are and I know what a player should be encountering at certain points within gameplay or certain levels of possession. But I have no idea what the haunt system is going to pull, and I have no idea where it's going to throw things based on the things that they're doing right now. So I catch myself off guard a lot while working on going and test something and forget that the haunt system's on, and then something will get triggered. I'll be going into the bathroom or whatever to, like, mix chemicals and test something, and then the woman in white or the mimic or, like, step out of the way or something happens. Yeah, it still catches me too.
I would say one of the things that absolutely got to me that everybody was laughing at me for is, I believe it's the woman in white, because I'm just like, I'm unsettled. So I'm just like, all doors closed. And so I was doing something, I turn around, the door to the hallway's open and it's dark, and I'm like, I could have sworn I closed that door. So I go, and then you see her face, so I jumped already where I jerked and my mouse kind of went up to the ceiling, and then as soon as I bring it back down, then she reaches out and grabs me, and I'm like, oh, and then I go again.
Yeah, that's actually, I have a number of, like, favorite ones, and that's one that I really like, just because there's something about the visual of her in such stark contrast in the blackness of the hallway behind her that really, like, I really enjoy. And so it's really cool to see people freak out when she gets out of the way and they think that's it. But
that's exactly, it's just like, by the time my heart's calming back down, she's grabbing, and I'm like, oh, there it goes again.
And there's a number of events like that where I try to make them somewhat reactionary on a deeper level, where it happens further into possession, where you'll see things like that and you've been sort of tricked almost, and then the next step of the event could happen depending upon what the player does. There's one that I always bring up as an example that I really like, where the Shadow Man is standing, depending upon where you are, standing off in a hall, bathroom, another room, whatever, using Rebecca's voice to call to her. And if you just ignore it, eventually it'll go away. But if you walk towards it, it will teleport away in a poof of smoke. And if you turn around, the dead body's standing behind you and the lights go out. And there's other things that can happen based on, those ones are more based on, like, coin flips, random timing things after that point. But the idea is that I wanted to have things that sort of looked out for those odd cases, those edge cases where the player may rush at something or try to interact with it in some way. I wanted things to happen when the player did that too, so that they felt a little more, like, involved in what was happening.
And that makes sense, because I know, like, the first time, my first playthrough, I was of the mentality, it's like, okay, everything that we usually shout at a screen, don't do that, don't. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be that horror movie protagonist. So, like, Raymond was like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna call back again. So when the phone rang, I'm like, I'm not answering the phone. I'm not, so it's like, the voice is calling, like in the case of the Shadow. I'm like, nope, I'm not going. We have this loud bang. I'm like, nope, not doing it. So it's literally like, okay, everything that we usually shout at the TV, well, are you stupid? What are you doing? Why are you doing? I'm like, okay, I'm not going to follow any of that. And then on my next playthrough, I was like, okay, well, everything that a horror movie protagonist would do, I'm going to do. So it was like banging. I'm like, I'm going to follow the noise. So, you see the Shadow Man, and it's like, I'm going to charge the Shadow Man. So it's just like...
I try to have things for both play styles like that, where if you're not going to do anything, I try to have more stuff happen closer to you. In usually the embalming room, that's kind of the big place where that happens.
That's what I saw the mimic on the ceiling, to be fair. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not safe in here.
And obviously I try to get the player moving around the environment as much as possible, because that gives lots of opportunity to discover these things. So I try to, if you have something where you just ignore it, it'll fire another event faster. So there are reactionary things where the system will be like, okay, you're high on possession, you've been ignoring things, maybe you're going through the game faster, maybe you're embalming bodies quicker. There's a number of things that I check to see, like, if you're going faster through things or playing a certain way, and the system will throttle itself based on that. So in the case of, like, say if someone's trying to speed run it, the haunt system becomes, like, way more aggressive and tries to throw stuff at you sooner, and larger events as well. So that way, not to try and trip you up and make you not get it done faster, but to try and ensure that people's all play styles get a similar experience, where they still get a spooky event that catches them off guard, even though they're racing through it to try to get done. I want to make sure everybody has a similar experience. There's going to be a a random roll of the dice where maybe the haunt system doesn't quite throw as much stuff at you in one night. But I also think that's part of the charm too, is that sometimes you could go through and be like, okay, this one wasn't as bad, right? Because the whole point is playing new shifts over and over.
Exactly, and I will say, I did get that, I think like one time, and then I was like, oh, I jinxed myself, because literally I'm like, oh, this shift is not bad. There's like nothing happening. Then all of a sudden it's like boom, boom. And I'm like, oh, I just jinxed myself.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so I did notice that also with the speed, because there was at one point where it's like, because I'll be the first to admit, like my first 3 shifts, I kept choosing the wrong body.
Yeah.
So like the 4th shift I was doing, I was just like, boom, I'm like, okay, I want to get back. I want to choose a body. And I started, like you said, kind of speed running through this.
Yeah.
You know, I was streaming it, so I had like my community, and they're just like, oh yeah, do this, try this, like, you know. So we're literally going through things, and then I kind of see like one event, and I'm just like, I was like, this night is crazy.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is one of the craziest nights.
That's great. I love hearing things like that where everything's kind of unfolding the way it's supposed to, because it's like part of developing something like this, especially by yourself, is like there's so many things that can go wrong. And I mean, there's been plenty of bugs, and I've been trying to crush them as much as possible after release. But just the fact that people experience this system, that I built everything and it's like the machine works the way it's supposed to, I'm like, yay, all right, good.
Yeah, like I said, it was like ramped up, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. I'm like, and then it kind of makes you want to hurry up even more, because you're like, I just want to get out of here. And then the system's like, oh, okay. So, yeah, so I also, one thing that I did that, to be fair, I didn't see a lot of people do when I watched other people's playthrough, is the first night, and she's like, nope, I'm out of here.
Yep.
I tried to leave.
Yeah.
You know, some people try to leave, and then as soon as they start slowing down, they're like, all right, I'm just going to go back. I literally was like, nope, I'm going to keep going, and made it all the way up to my car.
Yeah.
You know, then you see the shadow man standing there like, where are you going?
Yeah,
like,
that's the other, like, everything I did, and even the intro sequence that you're talking about, I wanted to give alternate ways things could happen, because one of my largest goals is I wanted people to be able to talk about the game with each other and have different experiences, be like, oh, that didn't happen to me, does this happen to you, right? And so even in the intro, I wanted things where if the player is the type to just say, forget all the story stuff, I'm just going back to work, Rebecca says, through this, I'm getting back to work, and then the game begins. If you try to leave, there's events there, and then you try to come back, and everything will start. If you try to get in the car, like you're talking about, there's other events. There's actually stuff where if you try to leave manually, like try to get out like the fence, or try to like use the gate, just reactionary things that sort of help bolster the lore of why Rebecca can't leave. And just extra stuff for someone who's trying to do all the things that they can. I wanted to try to give these rewards for all possible outcomes. And obviously I'm not going to be able to do everything, but...
No, absolutely. But even what you did do was phenomenal. It was amazing. And yeah, so it's just like, you know, like you said, reactionary. My reaction was, nope. I'm not staying in a haunted place. I'm out of here. So I like the fact that, you know, you go to the car, you try to start it, and it's like, oh, he messed with my car. Yeah. And then like you look up and you see like the shadow man there, like, you know, and then the whole time you're walking, it's kind of like, well, where are you going? Just get back to work. Like,
I really
nothing's wrong here.
Yeah, I wanted to play up the idea that Rebecca's being influenced, right? And so this like, oh, you can't leave because reasons. I wanted this, oh, well, the character is clearly compelled to stay. And that's obviously the demon's doing this desire to take over. So it's, I think it was fun to do some things that sort of show that she's really already being manipulated, and now it's up to the player to try and break through that and hopefully banish the demon.
So I know we're running short on time here, so I do want to talk. You know, I'm sure there's still people who might not have played it, so I don't want to spoil too much, but I do kind of want to briefly touch on the endings. What kind of made you go like, oh, okay, here's 5 different endings, and here's, you know, for example, obviously we've been talking about possession, so it's kind of like, how'd you come up with like, oh, here's different endings for possession-wise? Like, what kind of made you like...
So I wanted, the different endings have, I try to give a reward for if you fail. And so I wanted, like, there's one ending that's my favorite ending. If you guess the wrong body, guess the wrong demon, or whatever, there's an ending that is really satisfying for me, even though it's pretty terrible. And
we're gonna say spoilers, and I want to hear your favorite ending.
Okay, yeah, tune out for a second if you don't. So yeah, my favorite ending is when you get those things wrong, Rebecca is possessed and ends up crushing Raymond into a ball and throwing him down the hallway. I think it's this really nice, like, I try to have the ending start the same with, you burn the body and things explode and the demon comes out, and this question of was I right, was I wrong? And then there's a little bit more of that at the beginning of that ending where you're uncertain if it's like, okay,
like, this seems fine.
Yeah, it's like this seems like the same sort of thing, but it's the dialogue's a little different. And then that's when the music comes in and she starts talking a little weird, and then things get really pretty dark pretty fast. I just really like that one also because it was fun to animate. But
I mean, it looked like it was fun to animate. Like, not gonna lie, that's actually the first ending that I got.
Yeah, that's a lot of people get that one first.
Yeah, so this is super amazing. Like I said, I was totally gushing because definitely one of my favorite ones. I still have like two more endings to find myself, but that's what I told everybody. I was like, okay, well, we're gonna continue this in October because it's October.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, we have to. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna pick this up back in October. So definitely, I'm gonna go for those two more endings, see if I can get them.
Awesome.
I will say one more thing. One of my absolute favorite parts myself is when you go and you're actually finding the code for the keypad.
Yes.
And the mimic is there. And yes. I was like, oh, okay. And the fact is like he's just like, yeah, then
yep, just pieces out. Yeah,
so,
I wanted, there's so many of these similar silhouettes that I wanted to throw something in there to catch
exactly.
play off guard.
It worked very well, so I just wanted to bring that up. Like, it was, I have not seen one person get there, see that, and not get scared. So, I
fantastic.
mean, wonderful.
That's really what it's all about.
Okay, guys. With that, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for letting me gush and talk the game with you.
Yeah, it was great talking to you. Thank you very much.
It. Okay, so that is it right now. Join us for some more content on the LV1 Gaming channel. And we're going to continue to cover footage live here at PAX West. And we'll see you next time. Bye.